When the husband stays silent. This story describes events that could happen in any city. All names have been changed, any coincidences are accidental. Jennifer closed the door behind Michael and leaned her forehead against it. Silence. That damned silence again. Before, in the mornings, they would at least exchange a few words. He would ask what she was cooking for dinner, complain about traffic, tell some story about passengers. And now coffee in silence, sandwich in silence, jacket, shoes, the slam of the door. 20 years together. Accented 20, for God's sake. As her friend Amanda would say. And what was left? An emptiness, as if they had long been strangers, just living under the same roof. Jennifer sighed, poured herself some cold coffee from the pot, and stared out the window. Gray November, wet snow, dirty puddles. Inside her soul the same slush. The phone on the table vibrated. A message from Amanda, so decided. Should I send the detective's number? Jennifer grimaced. Yesterday, over a glass of wine, she had complained to her friend about Michael. Amanda, who had gone through a divorce and was now convinced that all men were bastards, immediately suggested checking the scoundrel. Said she knew a guy who, for a reasonable price, would find out everything, where he goes, who he meets, if there's a mistress. No, Jennifer typed quickly and put the phone down. Spying on her own husband. How low had she sunk? Although, what if Amanda was right? It all started about 3 months ago. At first it was unnoticeable. Michael started coming home from work and collapsing straight onto the sofa. Before, he would always stop by the kitchen, hug her from behind when she was cooking, kiss the top of her head. Tired, he grunted once in response to her question. Tough roads. She believed him. Being a driver was exhausting work, constantly on the road, dealing with people, traffic, stress. But then it got worse. He stopped looking her in the eye. Turned away when she tried to hug him. Answered all questions briefly or not at all. And then the oddities began. Michelle started staying late after work twice a week. Said he was helping a colleague fix his car in the park. Came home late, smelling of cigarettes, even though he'd quit smoking 5 years ago. Once, Jennifer noticed a long dark hair on his shirt. Not hers, she was blonde, and wore her hair short. The hair was almost black. Michael, what's wrong? She asked one evening, sitting down next to him on the sofa. He didn't answer. Just switched the channel and stared at the two. Can you hear me? I hear you. Well, can we talk? About what? About us. About what's happening. You can see it yourself. Nothing is happening, he muttered. Don't make things up. Jennifer felt everything inside her clench with hurt. Don't make things up. Michelle, you haven't talked to me for weeks. We've become like roommates. He stood up without looking at her and went to the kitchen. Came back with a beer, sat back down in front of the tub. Remained silent. She fell silent too. What else was there to do? Mom, does Dad have someone else or something? Asked Jessica once, peeking into the kitchen. Jennifer flinched, dropping a spoon into the borscht. What makes you say that? Well, he's been acting so strange lately. Gloomy. Always on his phone. Classic signs, I'd say. Don't talk nonsense, Jennifer cut her off, but something inside her snapped. Another person in his life. Of course. Why hadn't she thought of it before? 20 years together, and he found someone younger, prettier, more interesting. Probably some passenger. Started flirting with him, smiling, gave him her number. And he was still a man in his prime. Tall, sturdy, the gray at his temples only added distinction. And her, an accountant with a perpetually tired face in a worn-out robe with curlers in the evening. Who needed her? Mom, what's wrong? Jessica looked at her with concern. Nothing, sweetie. Just thinking. Jennifer squeezed her eyes shut, feeling tears welling up. No, she couldn't cry. Couldn't show weakness in front of her daughter. She had to find out. She had to talk. That same night Jennifer couldn't sleep. She lay next to Michael, listened to his breathing and thought. Maybe she should really get that detective's number from Amanda. Or try to find out herself. She carefully reached for his phone on the nightstand. She knew the password, their wedding date. He never changed it. The screen lit up. Her hand trembled as she opened the messenger. There were no chats with unfamiliar women. Just a work chat, Jessica herself, a couple of friends. But in the deleted messages, there was something there. An entire conversation thread, deleted 2 weeks ago. Jennifer went cold. So there was something to hide. She put the phone back and turned toward the wall. Tears streamed down her cheeks, soaking the pillow. That was it. Now she knew for sure. He was hiding something. Something he couldn't leave on his phone. But he wouldn't talk. No matter what. She tried again and again. Asked him directly, was there someone else? He shook his head and walked away. Started arguments, he stayed silent, clenching his jaw. Cried, he turned away. I saw, she said one evening when she couldn't take it anymore. I saw the deleted messages on your phone. Michael froze. Turned pale. You went through my phone. What else was I supposed to do? You won't talk to me. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Tell me. Explain. He remained silent, jaw clenched. The veins on his neck bulged. Just leave if you don't need me. She screamed when her patience finally snapped. Why are you torturing me? Say something. He sat on the edge of the bed, head bowed, fists clenched on his knees. Don't need you, he muttered so quietly she could barely hear. If only you knew. What should I know? But he stood up and left the bedroom. The bathroom door slammed. Jennifer fell onto the pillow and sobbed loudly. It was over. The end. Their marriage was falling apart, and she didn't even know why. The next morning, a message came from Amanda. Detective is available. Can start next week. Will follow, take photos, find out everything. 10,000 for 3 days' work. Jennifer stared at the screen. 10,000? That was almost a third of her salary. But was it about money when her whole life was falling apart? Send the number, she finally typed. An hour later, a man with a deep voice called her. He introduced himself as Mark Peterson. They agreed to meet at a cafe to discuss the details. Jennifer hated herself for it. For sinking this low. But what else could she do? On Saturday, Michael went to the country house. Said he needed to check the stove before winter, clean the chimney. Jennifer stayed home alone. Jessica was sleeping over at a friend's. She wandered aimlessly around the apartment, trying to busy herself with cleaning, but her hands felt limp. Everything seemed pointless. Tomorrow she was supposed to meet the detective. Give him Michael's photo, car license plate, work address. And in 3 days, she would know the truth. The whole truth. But did she want Tom? Did she want to know that the husband she'd lived with for 20 years had betrayed her? She opened the closet to rearrange his things, and suddenly, on the shelf, under a stack of T-shirts, she felt something hard. An envelope. Her heart skipped a beat. This was it. A letter from the mistress. Or photos. Or... Her hands shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was a sheet of paper, covered in Michael's familiar, uneven handwriting. My dear Jennifer, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't tell you myself. Forgive me. I'm a coward. 3 months ago I had a checkup. The doctors found a tumor. They say I need surgery and long-term treatment. There are chances, but not great ones. I didn't know how to tell you. Every time I tried I couldn't. You've been through so much in life, carried so much on your shoulders. Remember when your mom was sick? How you didn't sleep for a year, taking care of her, and then buried her. How it overwhelmed you afterward, and you were on antidepressants for 6 months. And now this. I thought maybe it would go away on its own, maybe the doctors were wrong. Got another MRI at a different clinic. It was confirmed. The deleted messages on the phone, that was a conversation with the doctor. He was consulting me on the test results. I deleted everything so you wouldn't accidentally see it. Those evenings when I was supposedly helping a colleague, I was going for checkups. To the oncology center on the other side of town. You can only smoke in a designated area by the entrance there. That's why I smelled like smoke even though I don't smoke. It's getting worse. The pain has started. The pills help, but not for long. I'm afraid I won't be able to hide it soon. I'm afraid to see your eyes when you find out. I'm afraid I won't be able to protect you, to be there for you. I'm afraid of leaving you and Jessica alone. I'm afraid you won't cope. Although I know you will. You're the strongest woman I know. I love you so much. More than 20 years ago. Forgive me for staying silent. I just didn't want you to suffer ahead of time. I wanted you to have a little more normal, peaceful life. Without tears, without hospitals, without this nightmare. But now I have to tell you. Tomorrow, when I get back from the country house, I'll tell you everything. I promise. No more hiding. No more silence. Your Michelle. Jennifer read and reread the lines, tears streaming down her face, dripping onto the paper, smudging the ink. Not another woman. Not indifference. Not being tired of her. A diagnosis. Fair. Love that didn't know how to express itself. She clutched the letter to her chest and sank to the floor right by the closet. She wept, uncontrollably sobbing and gasping for air. My God, how could she not have understood? How could she not have seen? All those weeks she had only thought of herself. Of her own resentment, her own pain, her own fear of being abandoned. Suspected him of cheating, went through his phone, was about to hire a detective. And he just didn't know how to tell her that he might lose her forever. Was protecting her. Shielding her. Until the very end. Jennifer grabbed the phone, called Amanda. Cancel the detective. Urgently. Right now. Jen, what happened? Cancel it, I said. She almost shouted. I don't need any detective. I figured it out. He confessed it. No. I found out myself. And it's not that at all. Amanda, I've been such a fool. She told her friend everything. About the letter, the diagnosis, how wrong she had been. My God, Jenny, Amanda whispered. I'm so sorry. So sorry for both of you. Me too. But we'll get through it. We definitely will. After the call, Jennifer wiped her tears, washed her face with cold water. She had to pull herself together. Mitchell would be back in a couple of hours. She had to be strong. For him. For both of them. Mitchell returned from the country house late in the evening, tired, in a dirty jacket. In his hands was a bunch of rowan branches, her favorite. Jennifer was waiting for him in the kitchen. The letter lay on the table in front of her. He walked in, saw the envelope, and froze. The rowan branches fell from his hands. His face turned white. "Jen, come here," she said quietly. He walked over slowly, still not meeting her eyes. She stood up, hugged him tightly, burying her face in his chest. "You fool," she whispered through tears. "You fool. How could you think I couldn't handle it? We've been together for 20 years. Together. Do you understand?" His arms finally rose, wrapped around her, pulled her close. She felt his shoulders shake. He was crying, silently, convulsively, with his whole body. "I'm sorry," he choked out. "Forgive me, Jenny. I was so scared. Scared of losing everything. Scared of leaving you alone. Scared you'd see me weak and—" She whispered, stroking his back. My love. It's okay. We'll get through this. Hermib. We'll get through it. Together. I was going to tell you today. Honestly. I even picked the rowan branches. I know you love them. Wanted to give them to you first and then tell you everything. I know. I read the letter. And you're not angry that I stayed silent. Jennifer pulled back, looked him in the eye. I am angry. Terribly angry. That you carried this inside for 3 months. That you tortured yourself and me. But I understand why. And I love you. No matter what. 6 months passed. The surgery was successful. Mitchell went through chemotherapy. It was hard, agonizing, but he endured it. Jennifer was by his side. Always. They sold the country house. Friends helped with money. Jessica got a part-time job despite her studies. They became closer than in all the 20 years before. They learned to talk. They learned not to stay silent. And when the doctor said the worst was over, that the prognosis was good, they hugged right there in the office and cried with happiness. You know, Mitchell said that evening as they sat on the sofa at home, maybe it's for the best that this happened. What do you mean? We would have just kept living like that. Next to each other, but not together. Each on our own. But no. Now I know for sure. No matter what happens, you're with me. And that's worth more than anything in the world. Jennifer leaned against him, listening to the beating of his heart. Alive. Strong. Together, she whispered. Together forever. And outside the window, the first spring rain was falling, washing away the last remnants of dirty snow, promising a new life, new hopes, a new beginning.